Hello, everyone. This is Ross Strauser along with Reed Trontel, and this is Focus on the Flathead here on News Talk 880 KJJR. How you doing, Reed?
Doing great, Ross. Thank you.
We're going to put these all on podcast as well. How do we get a hold of them?
Bpodcast.com, B Broadcasting YouTube, and you can find it on KJJR.com as well.
Thank you very much to Three Rivers Bank of Montana, also Glacier Grins Pediatric Dentistry, our fine sponsors. And in the studio this week, we're going from businesses to entertainers this week. I love it. He is Huntley Ritter from Atlanta, Georgia. Huntley, how are you today?
Doing well.
All right. Welcome to the studio.
Thanks for having me.
If there are any ladies listening, I'm sure they all know who you are.
I don't know about that.
Actor, entrepreneur, agency, marketing agency. I mean, you got it all going on, but a lot of movies on that resume. And before we get into all that, we want to know a little bit about you. Where are you from? How'd you get to Montana? All those good things.
Yeah, originally from Atlanta, Georgia, and big outdoors guy. Hunting, fishing's was a bit fanatical growing up. And I worked at a fly shop in the Atlanta area as a teenager, and I walked in one day and they were running trips to Montana. And I dreamed to come in Montana, and I was able to talk my way into helping out with the trips if I could come out, and came to West Yellowstone. And my first evening I was on the Madison River. I hooked up on a rainbow, and I had these mule deer run up next to me, which I'd never seen, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is Valhalla. And so from that day forward, I worked on how I could move to Montana, which really actually set the pace of how I got into entertainment, advertising, and everything, that I do now.
So did all that come before the movie industry?
Oh yeah, I was 15.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I came here when I was 15, and then I started coming every summer. And that's how I just fell in love with the place and was trying to figure out how to get out here.
And then you moved from there to this side of the state, the good side of the state, the northwestern Montana.
I did. That was an economical decision. The Bozeman area in West Yellowstone was a little more expensive at that time.
Was it really?
Yeah.
So what brought you up here?
I was pretty young, late 90s. I'm dating myself, but the .com boom was going on, and I've always been a hard worker, entrepreneurial minded, so I worked a lot of jobs and invested my money. I was investing in tech stocks, and anybody could be a genius then. Cisco Systems kept going up and splitting, and all of a sudden I turned a little bit of money into, for me at the time, a lot more. And I started looking online to see, and I found a cabin up in the Yak Valley.
Oh,
wow. And it had Border Forest Service. I didn't know all the rumors yet that I learned when I got out here, but it seemed like the perfect little Jeremiah Johnson getaway, which was what I was going for. So yeah.
So what was it like when you finally moved up here? I mean, did you move from the Bozeman area into that cabin?
No, I actually moved from Georgia. So yeah, I bought this place, and simultaneously, my kind of trajectory was my brother was an airline pilot, and then I had to figure out. I was in college, and I started taking acting classes because I worked as an extra on a set, and I saw the process, and I thought that was kind of interesting. I'd never ever acted or done anything in my life. But all my friends that were graduating were getting corporate jobs and telling me about how horrible corporate America was, and I thought, well, this sounds terrible because I need to hunt, the whitetail rut in November, and I need to do all these things. I was trying to find something that was going to be flexible, but I liked creativity and I liked the business side. So simultaneously to buying this place, I drove to Los Angeles, didn't know anybody, and got in a room in an apartment, and just went at that. Right, I'd studied acting a little bit for the last couple of years in Atlanta, trying to figure out how to get into the business. And I could fly back and forth on a companion pass from my brother, being an airline pilot. So I could do it for $40. Wow. So it worked out really well. And I actually remember taking my dad up to the cabin, and it was like half falling over. I hadn't fixed it up yet. I thought this was paradise. And he was like, "You paid money for this?" I was like, "Yeah, actually I did. I'm going to put a lot more money into it." But yeah, so it was my little haven.
Well, let's talk about acting. I mean, we could talk a long time on this. What was your first acting job, and how did you land it?
It's probably a little bit of naivety at the time. I never really believed in the word can't. If you tell me I can't do something, then I'll go do it. So, a lot of my friends and people said, I'd never been in a play. So I really had no background in this. How it happened is I was working as a valet. I was, teaching a little bit of fly fishing. I was in college at the time. I was doing landscaping in the Georgia heat, and I saw an ad in a local paper on a lunch break saying extras $10 an hour, and this was pretty good because I was planting trees for $8 an hour. So, I go on the set, and I'm on this set, and the guy across from me, we're background. I didn't even know what that meant, right? But we're sitting there, and you're pantomiming and the two stars are in the scene. And every 5 seconds, this actor would say line, and some woman would run in with a script and tell him like the line, and the line would be, "Hey, Jill, you look really nice today," or just something like, And I was like, "What's wrong with this guy? Why can't he remember the line? This doesn't look very difficult." So every time they call cut, the guy across from me pulls out a book. And I'm like, "Well, you've done this before. You knew to bring a book. You knew you were going to sit here for 5 hours." And I said, "How much do these guys get paid?" And he said, "The actors?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Oh, probably $30,000 or $40,000 an episode." And I was like, "How long does it take to film an episode?" They said, "A week." I'm like, "A week?" And I was like, "That was like $40 million to me, right?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know if I can act, but I could sure say, 'Hey, Jill, you look really good today.'" So that's,
Well, coming up in our next segment, we want to talk about movies because you have quite a few under your belt.
Oh, so I was going to tell you, that's how I got into it. And then I think the first thing I did some commercials, and I actually got a role on a soap opera called Bold and the Beautiful.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Real hit, man.
Let's talk about that coming up in just a few minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, we're listening to Huntley Ritter. He's our guest today. Actor, entrepreneur, video interactive software genius. I mean, geez, what else can we add to this list? This is Focus on the Flathead right here on News Talk 880 KJJR, and we'll be right back.
Qualifications and rules apply. See institution for details.
If our lives are getting so much better, why has banking fallen so far behind with monthly fees and bad service?
Welcome to Megabank. Please hold.
Welcome to Kasasa. Free checking with monthly rewards, refunds on ATM fees, and your choice of cash, music, and extra money to save. Upgrade to a free Kasasa account today, exclusively at select community banking providers. Do you Kasasa?
Ask for Kasasa at Three Rivers Bank of Montana. Member FDIC and an equal housing lender.
Hey, this is Dr. Chad with Glacier Grins Pediatric Dentistry, where a kid's smile grows big. As a father of 3 kids who grew up in the Flathead, I understand how each child can be different. We created a fun and relaxed atmosphere here at Glacier Grins and work hard to make sure each child has a positive experience. We are accepting new patients and have immediate openings available. We are located in Hunt Ranch Plaza between Walmart and Sportsman. Book your appointment online at glaciergrins.com or call 890-6055. We look forward to meeting you and becoming your dental home.
We are back. This is News Talk 880 KJJR. It's Focus on the Flathead. Hope you're having a great weekend. Ross Strauser, Reed Trontel, and Reed are sponsors for this great show.
Absolutely, Ross. Thank you. It's Glacier Grins Pediatric Dentistry, and of course, my favorite bank, Three Rivers Bank of Montana. And thank you, Huntley, for being here. Really appreciate it. Obviously, we could go on forever with this thing. My next question would be, how did you land, after all these commercials, your first big movie role?
Yeah, so I mean, remember my focus was it might sound a little bad. I was never really trying to be a thespian. It was more business. And I had a cabin I had to fix up, and I was trying to figure out how to play in Montana. So I was going back and forth. So I was super focused, right? I get up every morning at 5 a.m. I treated it like a business, and I was looking to start a production company as well. So in doing that, it was people don't. You kind of you go on a million auditions. At this time period, Varsity Blues and these movies, American Pie had come out, so high school things were pretty big. There were lots of auditions, and it's a great prep work for entrepreneurship because the rejection is so, it's so harsh, right? And you're just getting told, I had a Southern accent. People were like, if you could speak differently, and stuff like this. So anyway, I just went on an audition for a film, and it's the qualification is really like, does it pay money? Okay, cool. And it was the same studio that just done American Pie, which was Universal Pictures. And so anyway, we did it, and we didn't even know what the script really was. Actually, the audition was a drama piece, which I never quite ever figured out what the point. They said, we had to make sure you guys could act or something. So, well, we really can't act, but so it was Bring It On, which was about competition cheerleading, and I remember being on the audition. They're like, "Can you do any tumbling. And I'm like, what the hell is tumbling? But of course you lie. So you're like, of course. Yeah. Like what? Like, what are you thinking? And they're like, I don't know, like a cartwheel. And I said, yeah, sure, of course, sure. Right. And my neighbor at the time was she had been a TCU, Texas Christian University cheerleader, I remember. And so I went back and I was like, hey, you got to teach me how to do a car. I can't do anything. So she taught me, she's like, you're really bad at this. It took like hours. And so I went back for the audition. You meet the director, and they're like, okay, great. And I said, you want to see the cartwheel? I practiced this for like 3 hours and with this girl, and they're like, sure. And so the door was open, and I do this thing, and a guy who's a buddy of mine now, he actually was in the movie too. He said he was looking down the hallway and could see it, and I came walking out. And he's like, "Are they making you like do things?" I was like, "Oh yeah, you got to do like whole deal." And he didn't know either. So anyway, I got in the movie, and that was an interesting process because it was Universal Pictures. And I went to one of the producers and said, hey, I'm interested in starting a production company. I was 21 years old. And can I sit in the production meetings? And he said, why would you want to do that? You don't have to do that. I was like, I know, but I want to learn. So that's where I really kind of started cutting my teeth. And I used Universal's business affairs team to start optioning properties. And I started a production company and got a deal at Paramount Pictures after that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Some great movies under your belt. You said it, Bring It On, but We Are Marshall and The Wedding Planner, and name a few more.
Well, some of those we got to be careful. So We Are Marshall was a movie. My family's from Huntington, West Virginia, so this is a pretty important story. Our company was we almost produced that movie, and I had the writers and director from Rudy on board to do it. Yeah, we got a big bidding war. And this other production company came in and wrote a script without the rights. And I had already been there and had it all tied up. But he played it very well, and he got the studio to write a green light letter if they got it. And so I had a competing studio I was trying to get to do that, but Warner Brothers got it. So I went to the guy and said, well played. And then he said, you know what, I'd love for you to, he said, actually, you'd be really good for this movie on the acting side. And of course, my qualification was, does it pay money? And
wait,
I've never read it off. I didn't like.
You're not saying that out loud, right?
No, I mean whatever. It's business, right? So they didn't even have the role wrote. They bought me out for 3 months, and next thing you know, I was in West Virginia, and we were filming the movie, and so I actually helped a writer who I became close friends with kind of figure out what the role, because they were trying to flesh this thing out. But in movies, this Mick G who did Charlie's Angels did it, and I think the first cut was about 7 hours or something long, or 4 hours long, and my storyline was probably the 7th storyline. So I kind of knew. So long story short, it got cut.
Wow.
I think there's a few scenes of me kind of looking or something, but it happens.
Well, let's shift gears just a little bit. I mean, you've got a lot more going on in your life than the movies and the movie business. Let's talk about this video interactive software, USeek.
Yeah.
What is that?
So yeah, USeek is so through the trajectory of this career, in acting, like I said, I started a production company. That production company moved into lots of different things, advertising and marketing, and found a niche there where I would work with sales teams in some places like Comcast and other places to help create ad packages. And then we would produce those campaigns. I would direct the commercials, and then we got into interactivity. I got pushed into that side of digital, and I got very interested in interactive technologies, like where you kind of see things on the video, you can click on it, you could buy it. They're called e-com.
Yeah.
Click-throughs. And I started licensing those, pretty early on in the business of this. I would say 2007, 2008. And out of that, I just realized I had a vision that we looked at content wrong. And I thought, advertising today for all of us, when we go somewhere and you show us an ad, we're trying to get to something and it's a negative experience. And we're just used to you always accosting us with, we have to listen to the ad to get to the radio show or whatever, or the song or whatever, or video. So what I did is I flipped the model and said, what if we took a, approach kind of like Where's Waldo, where we hide stuff in the content, but we make it actually challenging, which we're not used to. And through that, we create a very focused experience that provides value to the advertiser, and then we can incentivize that to the user. So everything you do with USeek, you try to find things and touch them, you get something for it. So it's tied to contesting, pricing. We launched the company. We're based here in Whitefish, Montana. We do have some team members in other states and actually internationally, but we launched it in fourth quarter 2015 at the University of Montana. We over-engineered a few things. We launched an app that we didn't really need, but we figured some things out, and then we went with started building up key customers in 2016. So we work with Universal Pictures, Adobe, Virgin America, GoPro. We just signed a pretty big deal with Viacom Network. So we're still a startup, and we're very scrappy with it, but we seem to be solving a problem, I think, in that space.
Well, we want to thank you for coming on by and just spending a few minutes with us. We want to have you back, of course, to talk about all the things that you've been into, the agency, the marketing communication agency, all those great things that are happening. But you've been listening to Huntley Ritter on Focus on the Flathead and Reed. We're going to put this on podcast. Everybody can hear this.
Yes, at bpodcast.com, also bbroadcasting YouTube, KJJR.com. And when Huntley comes back, we'll have to talk about the B Broadcasting Alliance with Stafford. It's going to be awesome.
Okay. But this is brought to you by Three Rivers Bank of Montana and Glacier Grins Pediatric Dentistry. It is Focus on the Flathead here on KJJR.